Hey guys, so in today's video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to stay on track. So whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, consistency is always going to be key. So let's take an example. We'll take a real life one. At the moment, I'm trying to lose a little bit of body fat. I know, skinny guy, why are you bothering? Let's not get into it. But the goal is to get my body fat down. Now, in order to do that, the main parameter that I need to be aware of is that I'm eating in what's called a calorie deficit, which just basically means I'm eating less calories than I would need to maintain my current body weight. Okay, you eat under by between, let's say, 5 and 10%, and then gradually over time, you will see your weight slowly go down. I won't get into any more detail on that. Just understand that that's what I need to maintain consistently in order to achieve my goal. Now, you could apply this to any goal that you have or anything that you're trying to achieve. What we're talking about here is the ability to continue to do something without being interrupted and without falling off of the wagon, as it were, if you understand that expression. So the first thing is you need to be very, very clear on exactly what you're trying to achieve. So what is your goal? And you might have heard of people talk about SMART goals. And the basic concept of it is that you don't just say, I want to lose weight, because that's very open-ended. It doesn't really clarify any of the details. So it becomes very difficult for you to know if you are achieving the goal or not. So as an example, it would be better to say, I would like to lose 10 pounds within the next 30 days. Forget the numbers. But what I'm trying to tell you there is I've been very specific about how much weight I want to lose, and I've put a deadline on it. Okay? And then I've tried to make it attainable. I've tried to make it something that I can get done within that time frame. That's what we're trying to look for when we're setting ourselves goals and achievements. If we set something either too vague, I want to lose weight, then, okay, well, don't eat anything for a few days and you'll lose a few pounds. You're going to be satisfied? No. We need to be really clear, because that clarity makes it easier to figure out the path to that goal. So when I say that I want to lose this amount of weight, I can work out exactly how much of a calorie deficit I need to be in, and if I follow it, what my weight should be resulting in at the end of that time frame. Does that make sense? Now, obviously, you can't account for everything, and it's not always going to go directly to plan, but there needs to be a plan, is what I'm saying. Okay? The second thing, and this is really in regards to staying consistent and staying on point, because this is where it goes wrong, you see, is people set themselves the goal and they get started, and maybe they go a day, maybe they go a week, even a month, and then something happens that derails them, throws them off the path, and then they have to start again. And normally this is after, let's say you've binge eaten, or you've done absolutely no work on a side project, whatever it was that you were trying to achieve. So what we need to find a way of doing is eliminating our ability to be distracted or derailed. So I will again give you the example for me, and then you can take this away and apply it to whatever you're trying to work this towards. So for me, when it comes to eating the right stuff, I need to make sure that I've got food prepared and I've got food in the fridge. So if I don't have a protein source, a healthy protein source, for this example, let's say chicken, and it's not in the fridge, and I can't either cook it in 10 minutes really quickly or have it already ready to then warm up and eat, that's where I'm going to fall off. Because if there isn't the option there, it's very unlikely that I'm going to go to the shops now, go get the food, come back, cook the food. Instead, because I've limited myself with the time that I've got to cook and prepare my meal and eat, I'll just eat some frozen food. I'll eat something without the protein in it, whatever it is. And once I've fallen off, then I know I'm going to be off for maybe the rest of the day, maybe the rest of the week. And then you know how it goes. It goes on and on in that sense. So for me, it's an important rule that I have set, that there is always a protein source ready in my fridge. And before I run out, I go get more. So when I'm down to my last pack of chicken, before I cook it, before I eat it, before the day is over, I know I need to go and have the next day's food in the fridge. So always take a look at anything that you keep feeling like you fail at or that you keep falling off with, and try to figure out what that trigger is for falling off. Because I guarantee you're going to have something. You're going to have something that interrupts it. What we want to do is create as little friction as possible between where we are and where we want to be. And we want to create as much friction as possible between the things that interrupt us and disturb what we're trying to achieve. So if you're at your desk and you're trying to get some work done, by having an app that's open and ready to go for writing, let's say, your new screenplay. You've got that app and it's the only thing on your desktop or it's the only thing in your doc, and you click it and it goes straight to a fresh document. You've got all this set up. There's a high probability that you're going to sit down at your desk and do that. But if you sit down at your desk and you can one click away go to YouTube or go onto your social medias, or you bring your phone along with you to the desk, the chances are that you're going to distract yourself. You've made it too easy to be distracted, and you've made it too difficult to get directly on with whatever the work is. And again, it might seem like a little thing, but I'm talking from personal experience, and I'm assuming that you can identify with this if you clicked on this kind of video, that it snowballs. So what started as, I'll just check Instagram once, before you know it, you've been looking at Instagram for the past hour and you've got absolutely no work done. And at the end of the day, you don't feel great about scrolling through Instagram, but you do feel really bad because you didn't do any writing today. You didn't get anything done. So that's the second thing, is really try to eliminate distractions. Clean up whatever it is. If it's your work, clean up your workspace so that there's no distractions. If you want to exercise more, put your running shoes by the door. Lay out your gym gear first thing or last thing at night, first thing in the morning. Find ways of making it easier to do the right things and a little bit harder to do the wrong things. And finally, always review yourself. Now, whenever it comes to personal achievements, and this applies to everybody, we don't have anyone who can hold us accountable or who can review us. If you've got a job and you've got a boss, that's part of their role, is to ensure that you are hitting targets, to ensure that you're working to the right level and all the rest of it. And you might have a quarterly review, an annual review. You'll have to submit work, you'll get feedback. If you're setting yourself a personal goal, let's say you're trying to start up your own little business, well, there is no feedback mechanism in place for doing that. It's down to you. You have to figure it out. Now, what you can do is you can delegate this to someone you trust and someone who you respect in that sense. So that might be your partner. And you're going to say, can you hold me accountable to sitting down and working on my project once a week? But you need to understand that they are then going to probe you, and you can't get upset and defensive at that when you're sitting and watching TV and they're reminding you need to do that bit of work. Because that's why you've put them there. That's why you've given them that role, okay? Beyond that, it's really important to develop the ability to self-review. So this is where you'll hear people talk about journaling, meditation, to-do lists, all of these things. Really, what we're doing is we're taking a little bit of time to speak to ourselves, and not in the neurotic way that we do throughout the day about, oh, I should get this done, I should get that done. We're trying to get a little bit more grounded and a little bit more level-headed and have a conversation with ourselves about what we've achieved, what we've learnt, what we want to do, and how we're going to do it. And by regularly checking in with yourself like that and having an honest dialogue with yourself, it becomes far easier to keep yourself on track with whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So create to-do lists and constantly check in on them. Tick things off, move things to future dates, Pay attention to the stuff that just never seems to be getting ticked off. It's either that it's just not that important, or there's a resistance there that's getting in the way. And we'll talk about that more in another video. We'll talk about the resistance of fear. Check your calendar. Maybe start journaling. Journaling, don't think of it like Dear Diary. Okay, I think this is where people get a little bit put off by it, is they think they've got to sit there like it's a weird Hollywood movie and talk to themselves as they write out their feelings. It's not necessarily what it needs to be. It can be something, if it needs to be that for you, let it be that. Everyone's got a different way of talking. Everyone's got a different mental process, but it can be a lot more clinical in the sense that you simply write down what you've done today, what you've achieved, what you want to do tomorrow, and a few things that might help set you up for that. And every now and then, rather than it just being today and tomorrow, you might write down what I want to achieve this year. I love New Year's resolutions. I know people go a bit mad about them, people have a moan about them, but any opportunity to get excited about progress and change, I think is great. And for a lot of people, that is something like New Year's. Don't wait for it. You can do this tomorrow, you can do this today. But take some time to lay out a plan. What do you want in the next year, the next 5, the next 10? Because once you write it down, once you make it, then it becomes real. And then you can start setting out steps on how you're going to get there. And then we're right back to the start. We're back to being very clear about what we want, establishing it and making sure that not only is it something realistic, but it's something very specific. I don't want to make more money. I want to earn another £10,000 per year by the end of this financial year. You hear the difference between the way you talk to yourself and the way that you set yourself up for making goals. We need to remove distractions. So don't have your phone on you when you're trying to work. Don't buy biscuits if you're trying to eat better. Don't buy cake. Don't have it in the house. Make it more difficult to eat those foods. But do have access, free, easy access to vegetables, fruits, whatever it is that you feel that you want to eat to be healthy. Okay? Make it easy to do the right things, make it hard to do the wrong things. And then finally, put yourself up for review, whether that be through journaling or taking some time to meditate, or just simply looking at your to-do lists and your calendar and making sure that things are getting done, things are getting ticked off, and you're progressing and moving forward. It's normal though to fall off. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to me. No one is perfect. You are going to fall off. And the more you do it, the more you fall down, the better you learn to get up. I love using the example of a newborn baby or a young baby. Have you ever met a grown-up who just crawls around on all fours? Who, when they were a baby, kept trying to walk, never worked it out, and then eventually just said, you know what? It's not for me, this walking. I'm just not going to bother. I'm just going to crawl. It doesn't happen, right? And the reason is because they just fail over and over and over, and eventually they learn how to stand up and they learn how to walk. And it's the same. You need to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to fail and that you are going to fall off. But it has to be with the caveat and with the willingness to know that you're going to get right back on the horse. And the more times you do that, the more likely you are to find success. The greatest example I've had of it in my lifetime, where it really opened my eyes to the truth that you just have to keep trying, was my dad and his ability to quit smoking. Now, my dad has been, I would say, actively trying to quit smoking for 20 years. And sometimes this is how it would always go. He'd say, son, I've quit smoking. And I'd say, that's great, Dad. And then 2 weeks later, he'd be smoking again. And we would go through this. Sometimes it was 2 weeks. Sometimes it was 6 weeks. Sometimes he even made it, I think, like a month or 2 months without smoking. And we'd have the same conversations. He'd tell me how good he feels when he didn't smoke, how he can breathe better, how much healthier he is. And then he would slip and he'd start smoking again. And then one day, one time, he just stopped. He really did exactly the same. We had the same conversations. Nothing changed other than the fact that he kept trying long enough to actually succeed. And he got better and better at not smoking. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, from my point of view, I tried to always just be very supportive when he was trying and not be too negative on him when he failed, because he's human and we're all human and we're going to fail. But it's the ability to keep trying. It's the ability to keep getting back up and getting back on the horse. And that's what's going to get you where you want to go to. It's not failing that's the problem, it's giving up. So just keep trying. Above everything else I've said in this video, all the other advice, you just have to keep going. You just have to keep putting in the effort on a daily basis. So I hope that one helped. I kind of like the tagline at the end of these videos, so I'm going to go back to using it. Take care of yourself.